Shalom to the light, giving all praise and honor and glory to you. How about Shem El Shai, Bashem Kakodash, and give double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who well, peace and salutation to the elect. Shem El Mafis and Mappa from the Great Millstone Plain Tables Camp, coming with another lesson. Yeah, but this is a lesson concerning the economic spectrum in the world, and mainly being impacted by the decisions of the elite, which is being implemented via the talking heads, your presidents and government leaders and such, Senate, etc. And Donald Trump, your king of Babylon, is on the move, bringing forth destruction to the global economy. We're going to play this and just bring out some edification.
All right, just had to pause there, take off my jacket. I got a little bit warm in here. Moving on here, folks. We just have some new developments, though. Just came out today. What's happened is basically the president threatened new 50% tariffs against China because China had retaliated against our initial tariffs, which were 25%, I believe. And here was the threat, basically. If China doesn't remove its retaliatory duties by tomorrow, we're going to see a new 50% tariff placed on China. So it's going to be very interesting, folks, to see this back and forth, to see how this is going to play out. But when you look at the size of the U.S. economy globally, we do have the leverage here. Let me bring up a chart on this. And they put this out over at Visual Capitalist. And let me just make myself smaller so I can enlarge this here. And as we can see here, the global economy, 115 trillion total combined. Well, over 30 trillion of that, and this is projected for 2025, 30 trillion of that is the United States. Why is that? Because we have the printing press that can go endless. We have the currency that could just be created in endless amounts, right? So of course we're going to be able to buy the most stuff, and therefore, so that these agencies or entities would be crypto's selling off big time. It's still over 60% dollars out of thin air to infinity, and therefore we can buy the most stuff. So yeah, we're the world's largest economy. So yes, we do have the leverage because of that global reserve currency status. So this,
which the bankers set up anyway, okay, for the U.S. to have after World War II. They're the Federal Reserve. You have it. The world's reserve currency is the U.S. dollar. Since 1944, the U.S. dollar has been the primary reserve reserve currency used by other countries. As a result, foreign nations closely monitor the monetary policy of the U.S. Okay, to ensure the value of their reserves is not adversely affected by inflation or rising prices. But obviously, them having the lead in trade in U.S. dollar, obviously, the wealth is going to go to the central bank, all right, to these bankers, which they have control over everything. And that leaves these nations in subjection, okay? The dollar dominance, all right? These IMF, or International Monetary Fund, okay, they need these US dollars, okay, to to conduct trade. Okay. The US dollars continue to cede ground to non-traditional currency in global foreign exchange reserves, but a lot of remains preemptive reserve currency. Okay. And them having, of course, these other currencies and having to, go to these different entities such as IMF, that as they're saying, it continues to evolve the system. The patterns we highlighted earlier, which you could read the article, very gradually movement away from dollar dominance. But it says in rising role of non-traditional currencies of small, open, well-managed economies enabled by new digital trading technology remain intact. But as you see, they're just going to crash the whole system. Okay. You have it that this is not backed by any gold. All right. So, this is just fiat currency we're dealing with. Now, we're just going to go into there.
This is how we're basically able to put on these tariffs, because the country has this currency and other countries are still dependent on the US dollar for the most part. It's still over 60%. The US dollar is still over 60% of global trade is denominated in US dollars.
So most of the trade is happening in the dollar, so of course, that's why you see everything being propped up. But once they crash the dollar, everything falls.
Right. And we'll talk in a little bit here later in this report about how we're going to make.
Because you do have the BRICS alliance and other alliances with other countries that are operating with outside of the U.S. dollar. Of course, in a plot to improve themselves as weaker nations economically. And also, as we do know, these things lead to war. Okay.
Make money off this, buy the dip. Crypto's selling off big time as well. And the question is, how deep and how long is this dip going to be? Well, we're going to get into that here in just a little bit. This 50% tariff now that we're going to be levying against China. Well, it was this: China to impose 34% retaliatory tariff against all U.S. goods imported from the U.S. And let's see here. The finance ministry out of China said it would impose a 34% tariffs on all goods imported from the U.S. starting on April 10th. China urges the U.S. to immediately cancel its unilateral tariff measures to resolve trade differences through consultation in an equal, respectful, and mutually beneficial manner, the ministry said.
But as we do know, America has never been diplomatic, right? They're not for the people; they're for themselves. And the Edomites just want to keep all nations in subjection. All right, but this is all going to turn and backfire against them. Obadiah says here, this is Obadiah 1:6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. Okay? And you see, with these other nations leading, like China leading, in the digital revolution. Okay? being at the forefront of the digital system being set up. They got the digital yuan already hit. Okay, they got the whole totalitarian government, the AI, the machines. Okay, technologically advanced state, draconian state. So it said they have deceived thee and prevail against thee, and at the same time they're trade partners with you guys. Most of the goods coming over here being imported from China, exporting it, but it has deceived them. Okay, and the nation have prevailed. Prevail meaning to be able to gain and accomplish, overcome, or be the victory, have strength. Okay, and now you have it where, you know, the U.S. is looking sloppy and dumb because without all of these goods coming from countries like China and all of those that have been given them business, America would starve. Okay, because nothing is really made here. It says, they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There's no understanding in him. There's no understanding in Esau. All right, and hey, man, all of this aid, all right, given out. Hey, it set a great wound under E. Okay, because it's all going to backfire. All right, it's a trap. Okay, it's a plot. Mazawar, and it's the plot by Yahweh by Shem Shai, because the deceiver is his. All right, so he allow you to set up the dollar as the global global reserve currency, world reserve currency, and you know, have the nations in subjection, take out loans, and hope so that they would grow as a nation, even though they have all the various natural resources. But you'll trick them and tell them, hey, well, you guys gotta sell to us and we'll improve your nation. We might make you a first world country, but you have to let us come in and control policy. This is only gonna backfire against U.S. Okay, just look at all them different nations. Them nations are over here now. Okay, and they're sending their money back home, and they're becoming greater because of you. Okay, and you're becoming lesser. This person right here, I've never thought I was going to lose this money. CNN, this is fair use warning. I don't own any of this footage. Just for monetary, or not for monetary. This is for educational purposes only. Trump voter admits.
We want to have as many bees as we can to make honey.
At Secret Garden Bees, a honey farm in Linden, North Carolina, farmer Jim Hartman has one eye on his bees and the other on his bank account.
Ideally, we'll get 100 pounds of honey per hive per year.
How do you feel about paying more for things?
Well, you know, if you find someone who says, I'm happy about paying more for something, you point them out to me. People who already couldn't afford fresh vegetables, who couldn't already afford to put good food on their plate, are...
Yeah, real food, not garbage. Okay? Not this fake food that's out there.
the ones that are really going to be hurt by this.
Did you ever think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you're going to lose money?
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
Jim is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options.
Among other things, Jim imports packaging supplies for his honey, so he's paying real close attention.
Yeah, all the glass that you see. Who do you think is blowing them glass valves for this man to put together for cheap. You know, he can import that. You get X amount of boxes, you know, for dirt cheap, $10,000, and you have boxes for quite a bit. Look, from the same people.
To the tariffs Trump just put in place.
We just bought our year's supply of bottles from Taiwan and our year's
From Taiwan. Year supply of bottles. Because many of these people, they're just nothing but small businesses, right? Operating outside, independently outside of, you know, Esau's way. Right? You know, you selling raw honey and all that type of things. You're a small business owner, well, you know, to do things on that scale, you have to spend money. And you have to spend it quick, because if you don't, things are going to cost more.
supply of corks from Portugal about 3 weeks ago. So that would have been...
Got the corks from Portugal, got the other thing from Taiwan.
They're 5,000 or 6,000 out of my pocket.
Which is partly why he's repairing instead of replacing this 40-year-old forklift.
The cost of equipment has just gone through the roof to buy
All those parts that's being made in China.
anything like that, because it just would be cost prohibitive.
He's also holding off on improvements around the farm.
Can't go and make upgrades to the farm. You know, gotta reuse old wood.
Gonna hire any more people?
Can't hire nobody. That's more money going out.
For sure.
It's more than just the tariffs. For the past 2 years, Jim has been selling honey to the federal government, which then provides it to schools and food banks. But after Donald Trump took office, the USDA cut those programs suddenly as part of the federal government's effort to streamline spending.
For a lot of other local farmers around here, it was a major source of reliable revenue. For me, you know, it's going to cost me around $150,000 a year.
$150,000.
Yeah, roughly 50% of my revenue.
That nice contract gone, because they're cutting these different federal programs.
That's a huge hit.
That's a massive hit.
Not far from Jim's farm, we found other Trump supporters who give the president high marks on tariffs. How do you feel about the tariffs?
Well, I feel like for years we've been getting ripped off, and
He heard that off the news.
why not make it fair? You know, 0-0. And I think Trump was upfront about it. He said we're going to hurt some now.
I think some of the countries they're already starting to come around. It's going to be good. I really believe that.
You have faith in Trump?
Yes, I do.
I think he's...
You see, they got faith in their leader, but scriptures speak otherwise. Psalms 118. It says, it is better, verse 8, it is better to trust in the Lord Yahweh than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Lord Yahweh than to put confidence in princes, your leaders, are your princes right now. He's your king of Babylon right now, Esau. Okay?
He's doing the right thing. In order for us to get back where we need to be, he needs to get the money somewhere, and they're charging us. Why not charge them?
Back at Jim's farm, though, still plenty of worry. He says raw honey is considered a luxury good, similar to organic vegetables. As prices rise,
I don't know what that's going to do to consumer spending.
Trump paused the majority of the tariffs for 90 days after we'd left Jim's farm. Jim told us by phone, it's flip-flopped so many times you can't take it to the bank. Who knows what it will be next week? Adding, it seems like he's heard the American people. Randy Kay, CNN, Linden, North Carolina.
All of this volatility and uncertainty brought on by the trade war that we were just talking about. You know, you've got China announcing it's raising retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 25%. That coming after President Trump hiked the rate of Chinese goods, the rate on Chinese goods coming into America from 104% now to 145%. All of that creating so much uncertainty, is having a real and immediate impact on businesses big and small across the country. One small business owner joined us on the show just yesterday, describing how the daily chaos and the changes in policy have left her with no good options.
It's hard to make a decision. You know, we had an idea yesterday after the announcement of, well, maybe we can export to Australia, repackage the products, and then re-import them from there.
Export to Australia, repackage,
And then re-import them from there.
and then bring them back in.
But because policy changes every 36 hours or so, I don't want to make that decision and make that move only for something else to change in just a couple more days. I don't.
And the scriptures tell you, this is James chapter 1:18. It says or 1:8, pardon me. It says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, and the Edomite can't be trusted. He's double-minded, man. Dip Sakas, meaning he's wavering, uncertain, and divided in interest. Okay?
So I'm paralyzed. I can't even make a decision right now.
Paralyzed. Another big area of concern is what this means for American farmers, of course. China is, among other things, the biggest export market for American soybeans. China bought 52% of American soybean exports last year, throwing American soybean farmers.
And then they'll bring these soybeans right back to America in different products. Okay? Buy them from America, make them into a product, resell them. The product is being bought by the consumer. This consumer going to have to pay all of this. All right, so these nations are coming against Esau, Edom, okay, with these retaliatory tariffs. It's unleashing chaos, and the consumer will pay. This is Isaiah 33:1. Woe to thee that spoilest, you Edomites. Sadud in Hebrew, meaning to devastate or ruin. Okay, he's a devastator. This is the violent man. Okay, it says, and thou was not spoiled. America, you see, is still sitting here, still pushing. Okay, many of these people are proud like nothing is going on with them. Okay, you know, that Edomite still got his land right now. He's like, oh, I lost a whole heap of money, but, you know, he's still moving. It says, and deals treacherously. Treachery is begud, which begud goes into being deceitful. Okay, and he comes in with all of these different plots and schemes and undermining. Okay, making false promises to you, and you see what it led to. It says, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. They gave a fair shot. They gave you their resources. Okay. It says, when thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. Okay. You know, all right, well, guys, we're on one even playing field now. Okay. Now everything's reset. Well, the nation is going to come after you. Okay. And they're going to burn America with fire. All right. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. So at end, you reap what you sow. And he's sowed nothing but violence. So violence shall come to this evil man. All right, because a lot of these different nations are nuclear armed. All right, China is nuclearly armed. All right, the different EU countries are nuclearly armed. All right, despite them being allies, the EU, they're gonna burn Babylon with fire. Restoring back to Revelation, the 17th chapter. So you see what it is. Hey, we'll continue to keep following it. diligently. But we're at the end. Shalom TV, like.